Our senior correspondent, John Huddy, joining us now live outside the jail with the latest on what's happening there today and what has transpired. John, good afternoon.
Hey, Bianca, good afternoon to you. Yeah, Donald J. Trump was listed as inmate number P01135809. His booking sheet said he was 6'3", 215 pounds with strawberry blonde hair and blue eyes. After being booked and fingerprinted, his mugshot was taken here at the Fulton County Jail. It was a very quick process, only about 22 minutes before he left with his motorcade. But that mugshot he also posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, the first time he's been on the site in nearly 3 years. He also had a link to a statement, writing in part in this statement that has taken place is a travesty of justice and, quote, election interference. And he said pretty much the same thing as you were talking about in the intro, Bianca, with remarks on the tarmac before he boarded what's called Trump Force One and headed back to New Jersey. Here's in part what the former president said.
What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it. I've never had such support. And that goes with the other ones, too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before.
And last night, as discussed, former President Trump was also on with Greg Kelly. Here's in part what he told Greg. Listen.
In my whole life, I didn't know anything about indictment, and now I've been indicted like 4 times, and all by the radical left, and it's in coordination, absolutely in coordination with the Justice Department.
Now, along with former President Trump, the other 18 co-defendants have turned themselves in, the final ones today. As we know, Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff, was booked and released yesterday. Overnight, Jeffrey Clark, former DOJ official, was also booked and released from the jail. Then 5 others turned themselves in today, including Robert David Cheeley, a Georgia attorney, Georgia State Senator Sean Still, and also Trevion Kuti, a publicist who's connected to another co-defendant, Harrison Floyd, who is the only one being kept in the jail without bond. He is scheduled to appear before a judge in court today. Bianca.
John Huddy, live for us outside Fulton County Jail. Thanks, John. Good to see you. And joining us right now to discuss this further, former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. Doug, good afternoon. Obviously a historic day and a sad one, many say. The president, speaking to our Greg Kelly, said it was a terrible experience. What is your thought on him having to go in and having to be booked and taken a mugshot that clearly seems like very vindictive, as everybody would recognize Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, the reason for the mugshot that we've seen in 3 previous cases is simply, identification purposes. I don't think anybody has trouble identifying Donald Trump anywhere in the world. Also, the Secret Service is with him at all times, and it just struck me as odd last night that the sheriff kept saying, "Well, he'll be treated as any other person." And when 14 motorcycles, 8 cars, and 9 cars in a motorcade come up to the Sally Port, and 20 minutes later, this is not a normal person. And look, they're going to make money off of it. They're going to sell the items of it. But at the end of the day, it didn't need to happen. And I posted out on my own Twitter, it's just a sad day to come to this, especially when you look at this whole totality of what's going on.
Well, DA Fani Willis was the one saying that everyone had to comply by noon today. That's just 5 minutes ago, and everyone did. But there's a lot of questions, including from the GOP and your former Judiciary Committee as well, about what her role was. She set up a new campaign website. We're going to put it up here for folks. This was right before announcing Trump's indictment, Doug, seeking donations for her reelection. The letter coming out yesterday from Congress, they want her to provide documentations on her communications with Jack Smith. They're also tying it into not just this website that, says it could be a politically motivated. Obviously, many do believe that's exactly what's happening here, but they also tie it to the funding. What type of money is funding Fani Willis's RICO charges here against the former president and 18 others?
Yeah, Fani Willis is put this up. She's been doing it for 2.5 years. Again, she's not been the best at making some decisions from a optics standpoint. Even the judge, there was a case here which she was investigating the lieutenant governor down here, which they said she could no longer prosecute because she had a fundraiser during the election cycle for the gentleman running against Burt Jones, lieutenant governor down here, and so she had to be dismissed. And the judge said it was very poor judgment. I think it was the way it was discussed. Well, again, why would you? You could have uplifted. She doesn't going to have a real challenge for her district attorney's re-election probably down there. So why was it that you all of a sudden put a website up to start raising money around the time when you knew every eye in the world? Well, we all know why, because if you're a political consultant, you know, it's sort of like a farmer. You got to get the hay in while and get the the eggs collected, and you get the produce in. Why? Because that's the time you do it. Well, when you put the eyes before everybody that everybody's going to be looking for Fani Willis, and you put a page out there for Democrats across the country to donate to, that's the best time to do it. But it then does invite the criticism that it's a political deal. This is done to uplift a political agenda and not a true persecution. And realizing also, when you look at the Fulton County Jail, and a lot of the folks sitting in Fulton County Jail for very serious crimes have not been indicted, it does make you tend to wonder.
Yeah, well, she's pushing an October 23rd trial date for Trump and his co-defendants. That's less than 2 months away, exactly. Let's spend some time now talking about the Biden family and the investigations that look to be heating up. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer spoke to us here just yesterday, and he says President Joe Biden has lied to the American people at least 16 instances regarding the alleged business schemes involving his family. This is what he told us.
Now, he's lied more than that, Rob, but he gives so few interviews. He is the least transparent president in the history, especially with his friends in the media. But we've got him in his own words lying, and we have the evidence of where he lied.
Doug, to a point of discussion that's playing out right now, does Congress go forward with an impeachment inquiry, which McCarthy suggests could happen after the break, or do they build a case and use these instances and use the mounting evidence, be it, Devin Archer, that 1023 FBI informant, to actually put together something to then hand to Merrick Garland and say, here, what are you going to do with it?
Well, they're not going to hand anything to Merrick Garland. They'll handle it internally, and if Merrick Garland may be looked at in this case itself. Here's the interesting thing. They can continue the way they're doing, and they can grow, but it only limits them up to a certain amount. If they were to actually go into a full impeachment process, which would probably then switch to the Judiciary Committee in this, then they have opened up a lot more avenues for getting at evidence, getting at certain things, because they're acting, and if you look at the way this is written, it's written as more of a trial court process. So at that point, they can't open up, even going back to grand jury stuff, which there was a big fight when I had with Jerry Nadler and the impeachment of Donald Trump, was that you're not acting as an impeachment inquiry, you're simply holding hearings. So I think at a certain point in time, there is going to have to be the judgment call by the House leadership and the committees to say, okay, are we going to move these investigations that we're having into a more formal process that then can lead to an actual impeachment trial? That'll be the interesting case. But Representative Comer's brought out, and Jamie's brought out, a lot of stuff that people would have never seen had we not seen the Republicans taken over. And I think that's the big line that needs to be out here, is that look, none of this. Think about how much this was piled up that would have never gotten seen.
That's for sure. Look what they did with Hunter's laptop before the last election. Doug Collins, such great analysis. Always good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us this Friday.
Always good to see you as well. Take care.
Thank you.